Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review video. If I sound kind of funny, it's because I was sick last week, and I usually do 6 books in a book review video, 6 to 7 depending on if I have time to read a 7th book, but this time I only read 5. I thought the last book that I read was the 6th book, so I already started reading for the next set of book reviews, and so I only have 5. If you see like a thing in my eye on top, I don't know what happened. I went to work, and when I came home, my eye felt really weird, and then the next day it had that, like, a bump on it. Gunk was coming out of it, so I don't know what it was. It's just scabbing right now. It's fine, but just so you guys know. So this book, I think I got this book at Ollie's, like the discount kind of store. It's kind of like Big Lots in a way, I guess you could say. If you don't have an Ollie's, I have something in my eye now. This book is about Martin Luther, and it's kind of like a biography in a sense. It's called Katharina, I guess that's how you say her name, and Martin Luther. It's by Michelle DeRusha, forward by Karen Swallow Pryor. This is what it looks like. There are some pictures in this book, but they're in black and white, and some of them are really grainy, like you can't really see what's in the picture. But basically, it talks about Martin Luther. You know, he wrote, I didn't really know a lot about Martin Luther. I know he's like a religious figure. He wrote the 99 Theses, put him on the door of a church. I know that. And basically what it is about kind of like both of his and his wife's life before they got married and after. It was a really interesting book just because, like I said, it was a biography where I didn't really know anything about Martin Luther except for the theodicy thing. The weirdest thing was when I got this book, I thought, when I first went into it, I thought, oh, it's gonna be like a historical fiction, because I read a book a long time ago about Alexander Hamilton and his wife, but it was like a fictional book. So I thought that's what this was going to be about, but it wasn't. It was actually like a biography, kind of. I really liked it. It was pretty interesting. Like I said, it's nice when, like, you can read a book about somebody that you don't really know anything about. Like, usually I read the royals, so I know mostly, I read a lot of books about the royals, so most of the time the stuff repeats in the books. But this was a nice read, and it was short. Like, it's not like a big biography, but the chapters are long in it, just so you guys know. So this book is called FaceTime. It's a Charlotte McNally mystery. It's by Hank Phillippi Ryan, I guess that's how you say his name. I butcher people's last names, so if I say it wrong, I apologize. It's about this woman who, she works in the television business. She's a reporter, and she's working with this group that, I guess, it helps people who were wrongfully put in jail. I think that's what the whole premise of the group is. And her cameraman are trying to figure out who really did this crime, because they want to get the woman who's behind bars for the crime out of jail, because there's evidence where they found evidence that this group found evidence that she really didn't hurt her husband, or murder her husband, basically threw him down the steps. I think that's what it was. And basically, it was, everybody thought she did it just because, you know, like, they had problems in their relationship. Like, they were basically, like, opposites of each other. Like, he was really, like, abusive to her and drunk all the time. And she was, like, the shy girl who had stuff going for her. And then something happened, like, right out of high school where she had to marry this guy. I think it was right after high school. Anyway, there's a twist in this book, which I really liked. You didn't really see it coming until the end of the book, who did it and why they did it. Well, why they did it wasn't that shocking, I should say. It was a nice book. The chapters weren't that long in this book. I mean, it's a small little book. And this was made by an Emmy Award-winning television reporter. I never heard. Oh, it's a woman. Sorry. I was going to say, one of these books has an author where the name is a man's name, but it's a woman. It is a woman who's the author of this book. Sorry. And I never heard of her before, but it was a nice little book. Now this book in the beginning, when I got this book, I thought this was gonna be like a sci-fi kind of book. The first chapter, it made it seem like it was gonna be a sci-fi book. I don't know why it seemed like that, but it did. The chapters in this book were really long. They could have probably like halved each of the chapters into its own chapter, because that's how long they were. It's not a Harlequin book, but it's a romance kind of book. It's called The Devil's Own. It's by Sandra Brown. I don't know why it's called The Devil's Own, because it had nothing to do with the title. This book had nothing to do with the title. The woman and the man in it weren't evil or anything, so I don't know why it was called this. This is what it looks like. I got this book at a book bingo, and I don't know where the person who owned it before got it, but this book was not great. And like I said, it's a romance book. It's kind of Harlequin-y, but it's really not. It's about this woman. She's in this small little country. I forget what it's called. It's not like, I kept calling it Montenegro, but that's not what it's called. It's called like Monterocco or something like that. And basically, she seduces this man who she thought was a mercenary. And here it turns out he's like a photojournalist. He's there to take pictures of what's going on in this small little country, that kind of thing. And basically, she says to him, if you want to, because he was supposed to go home, and he missed his flight. And she basically said, well, if you want to get out of here, you have to help me with these orphans. And there's 9 orphan kids who they are getting adopted by people in the States, but they have to go to this place where the helicopter is going to come for them in a couple days. And if they miss it, then obviously they're stuck in this country or this small little island, whatever it is. It's basically they're going through this jungle. The best way I could think of it as is just like maybe it's kind of like in South America somewhere, because they're in this jungle, this dense jungle, and they get into problems with, there's like a war going on, I guess, so there's like guerrilla warfare guys who try to, take the kids away and her away and all that stuff. And then eventually they get to their destination, a fight breaks out, and then basically, there's romance in it. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but there's romance in it. There is some smut in this book, like a couple times, and I was just like, really? And it goes on and on and on in this book, and I'm kind of like, seriously, like, I'm tired of it already. Like, when I got to those parts, I just skimmed through it, because it was basically like every couple chapters, and then it would be the whole entire rest of that chapter. So, the next book is called The Last Wife of Henry VIII. It's by Carolee, I think that's how you say her name, Erickson. That's what it looks like. And basically, this is it's a historical fiction book about Catherine Parr, who was Henry VIII's last wife. She survived him, if you know the poem, or the rhyme, whatever you want to call it. And basically, it's like a fictitious, like, story about her life. And it goes through her husband's, it goes through, her being in the court of Henry VIII, her not liking Anne Boleyn, her befriending Catherine Howard, and trying to tell her that these rumors are starting about her, and she should be careful, and Catherine Howard doesn't believe her. Sorry, you guys. And all this stuff. And I liked it. I usually read Phillippi Gregory books that are like this, but this book was really good. I really liked it. I knew a little bit about Catherine Parr. There's a YouTube channel. I think it's called like Tea Time with Lindsay Holiday or something. And she talks a lot about like royal stuff, like royals around the world, Henry VIII, you know, all the different kinds of royals. So I knew a little bit about her going into it. So I knew like who she was married to, if she had any kids, how she died, that kind of stuff. But I really liked it. This book is called The Daughters of Fortune. It's by Tara Hyland. And when I first started reading this book, I thought it was gonna be like a V.C. Andrews book. And if you guys read V.C. Andrews, you know how like dark and twisted this book is. But this is what it looks like, or what her books are like. So basically, it's about this family who the husband, it takes place like in the past first. And when I first started reading this book, before that, I thought it took place like in the 1920s, you know, kind of like the Downton kind of stuff, like the rich, affluent people, that kind of stuff, but it doesn't. It takes place like in like modern times. And basically, it's about this man who had an affair with this young Irish girl who works in his store, and she gets pregnant. She wants to tell him, and here what happens is he ends up going on vacation with his family, and she ends up somehow losing her job while he's away. And when she's gonna go tell him that she's pregnant with his baby, things don't go well. He never finds out about her, because she sees him with his wife and how loving he's trying to be to his wife, all that kind of stuff. And she ends up going back to Ireland. She has the baby, and then it takes place when I think she's like 16 years old or something like that. Her mother's dying, and her mother says she wrote to her dad. She told her dad about her, and her dad was coming to get her. Her dad takes her. Her mother dies, and her dad takes her away from the place that she's known for her whole life, and puts her into his family. And that's basically how a lot of V.C. Andrews books are like, where they go into this family, their step family, half sibling family, and you know, these horrible things start happening, like these evil things. And basically she has two half sisters. One's older than her and one's younger than her. And it's kind of like a drama. I don't want to say it's like Downton, because it's not, but it's kind of like Downton adjacent, like it's opposite, kind of. And it's basically their story, and how the oldest is trying to get her dad's affection her whole life, because it takes place like when they're teenagers and then throughout their adulthood, basically. And then they're like not when they're old, but like their midlife kind of thing. And basically they're rich because their dad and his dad own this like clothing business kind of thing. That's how they're rich. And basically, eventually, the daughter wants to take over the company, the oldest daughter, and she's like, she has to have big achievements in her life so that she gets her dad's attention. The youngest one, she ends up like getting into all this trouble with everything. She was kicked out of school. She meets this man who gets her to do all these horrible things, and she's like, I don't have to get help, I'm fine, that kind of thing. And her middle sister, eventually she breaks up with the family, and she wants to do her own thing her way. She's like an artist. She starts doing stuff like in fashion and stuff like that, and then she comes to work for the company. And basically at the end, it's a nice, happy ending for everybody in the family. And I really enjoyed it. Some of the chapters were long. It is a thicker book, like, it is a bigger book. But I liked it. Like I said, I thought in the beginning it was going to be like a V.C. Andrews book. And like I said, I thought it was going to take place like in the 1920s, but it didn't. I really liked it. And that was my book review video for this month. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.